Well, today I am in California wine country and I have the opportunity to test drive the 2026 Hyundai Palisade. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to do a quick walk around and show you some of the new things that are on this vehicle. We'll get into the things that I like and the things that I don't like. Then, you know what we're going to do? We are going to go off-road, and then I'll give you some of my driving impressions on-road. My name is Jill Simonella with Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. Let's take a closer look at the 2026 Hyundai Palisade right now. So we're just going to start with a quick walk around, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that are new, because there is so much that is new on this vehicle because this is completely redesigned. This is a next-gen Palisade. I'm probably going to forget some things, but I'm going to try here. So first off, you have a completely new design. So you've got a much more upright front end. You've got a new lighting signature. Even though it's vertical like the previous generation, you have a different structure to the daytime running lights and the headlights. So, and you also, in the calligraphy trim here, have this light bar. I don't know if you can see it, but you have a light bar right here that goes across. And I will point out, today we only drove the calligraphy trim and the XRT Pro trims. So this is the experience that I am drawing from. And we were only in the gasoline model. So the other thing that is going to be new on this vehicle is the fact that it has a 3.5 liter V6 engine. This replaces the old 3.8 liter engine, and it has 287 horsepower, and that is actually about 4 horsepower less than the previous engine. We asked about why they changed it, and we didn't really get a good answer, other than people want a naturally aspirated V6. So, okay, why didn't we keep the old one? I don't know. No answer to that. So as you go around to the side, you can see you also have this very redesigned tail end. You have accented D-pillar here, and you can't really see it because the car we were driving today is silver. But in other models, you can tell that that is going to be silver even when you have a different color. So new lighting signature here at the rear. And you will probably notice you've got some extra cameras and things going on, and that is because of a couple of other new features that you've got on the interior. So you've got a completely new design on the exterior, and when you come inside, you have a new design to the interior. Now, I will have to ask you to excuse our mess, as we've been driving this vehicle all day and we've kind of moved into it. But you have this new curved display here with the digital cluster, so two 12.3 inch screens. You know, we will actually climb in here and I will power it on. So you've got your power button right here. We have seen that in some other Hyundai vehicles. So that's not necessarily new to Hyundai, but new to the Palisade. So nice steering wheel. And I will point out, you do have a very light interior here. I don't know how I feel about the light interior, but this is the top tier calligraphy trim, so okay, maybe it works. You have a rear camera mirror here, so that's new for this model, and that is why you have so many extra cameras. You also have a really good around view camera here as well, from the backup to the around view here. So, and that's really good detail, and I like the high deftness of this camera with some different angles and views. That's my drive partner. So, good job there. Something else that is new and it's interesting is you also have, well, you know what? You have tow mode. So this is the first time they've offered tow mode, and that will, you can tow up to 5,000 pounds in the gasoline vehicle. So we did not drive the hybrids. The hybrids are coming in the fall. There will be a hybrid powertrain. This is not that. But you can trailer up to 5,000 pounds, and they've done a really good integration of this with, your checklist, your settings, and you can say like what weight your trailer is. You've got trailer braking. And you can add a trailer. So they've done, for a first time doing something like this, I think they've done a really nice job. Something else that is going to be new, and this is really intriguing, is you have a dash cam. And so this is built in, and this is probably not going to be on your base trims. I think it's maybe only on the calligraphy trim, but you can record while you're driving, while the vehicle's parked. When motion is detected, you can record driving events. And as you can see, these are some of the records that have been recorded today. Now, I think they said you have about 4 days worth of information on here, and then it recycles. But there is an SD card, so you can, and it's in the glove box, so you can actually record things and pull it out and then, you know, put in a new SD card. So it's kind of interesting that it records what's going on around the vehicle, and it will, like, so if somebody gets hit, if, you know, somebody does something bad to the vehicle, if, you know, it will keep a record of that. So it's kind of cool. And it does both the front and the rear. But what is going to be new is the fact that you can toggle into terrain mode, and then you have snow, mud, and sand mode. And we will be using those in the off-road. Obviously, this dash area is completely redesigned. I like the fact that they have kept some of the buttons for the most touched items. This is more of a touchscreen, and it is not capacitive, but I feel like the icons are big enough that even if you're touching it while you're driving, you're not going to miss it. Dual automatic climate controls always get a thumbs up from me. And something else that is new is you do have this UVC sterilization, and it's going to be in here. So you could put your phone in here, you could put kid things in here, and then you turn it on, and then you turn this on, and then it will sterilize the item. So I think that is pretty cool and interesting. I like the overall design here, but again, I don't know that I would do a light color. I would not do a light color. But as a calligraphy trim, you have really nice material choices. You've got the nice embossing on the seats. You've got interesting seat design, and you have captain's chairs. This does come standard with bench seats in the middle and seating for 8. But this has the captain's chairs, and then you've got the dual pane moonroof here. So I'm sure that I've missed some of the things that are new, but now it is time for me to get into the things that I like and the things that I don't like. Now, I'm going to point out again that we are driving the top tier calligraphy trim. So some of the things that I like may not be quite true when you go into the lower trims. But I will say overall, I have really good, comfortable position here. So these seats are comfortable. They're firm but nicely padded. We have spent probably 3 hours sitting in the passenger and the driver's seat, and my butt doesn't hurt. So that gets a thumbs up from me. I also have a really good driving position in terms of being a petite driver, so I will give this a thumbs up for petite drivers, but the seat is really highly adjustable, and so it's going to be good for both taller and shorter drivers. And because this vehicle is essentially bigger in every proportion, it's going to be even more comfortable for a multitude of drivers and sizes. So I like that. You know, I like the distance from the steering wheel. I feel like everything is good here. I've got good visibility out of all of the windows. The only thing that I think is a little bit weird here, other than the light material in the steering wheel, I would get that dirty, is the fact that you have a manual operation for the steering wheel. And top tier calligraphy trim, kind of feel like it should be power. I don't like or dislike that, so I'm just kind of filtering it in here, but I think it's a little bit weird. So I'm going to flip the camera around to show you some of the other things that I like here. Because, by the way, I'm just going to, spoiler alert, I like a lot more than I don't like. Now, another really big thing that I like is going to be all the tech that you have available on this vehicle. So in addition to 100-watt chargers in every location, you have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have a really nice, big, swipeable screen with really good visibility, and I think just it's got very good clarity. You can do full screen, you can do split screen, you've got options. And I don't have my phone paired with the Apple CarPlay, but we were in that earlier and it worked flawlessly and was very swipeable and didn't have any lag between the phone and the screen. So that also gets a huge thumbs up from me. I like the actual buttons and dials. Yes, thank you for the highly touched things. You have your buttons over here for your camera, your parking sensors, your hill descent control, and then you have your auto hold button right here, and then your drive modes, which I like the location of that, because you can just easily, from your hand, from the steering wheel to the drive modes. Now, I do think this is a little bit weird. If you're looking for your auto stop start, it's going to be right here. Yeah, that, keeps your passenger from turning it off, but that's where it's located. Something else that I really like is going to be this rear camera mirror. Now, I do tend to drive with my mirror rather than with the camera, but it's a nice option to have if you were going to load people and things into that back space, because having things back there, that's a really narrow area. You're not going to be able to see. So I appreciate that. Now, along the tech front, something else that I think is really cool, and again, this is only going to be in your top tier trim. I think it may only be in calligraphy, maybe in limited, but you have the ability to adjust the seats and the climate for the seats from here. So if I wanted to turn on the heated seat for anybody else in the vehicle, I could do that. I can control, so like if kids are like, I'm hot, I'm cold, you can turn that on and off. But here's the really cool thing. You can also move the seats forward. I can hear it moving, or backward from this spot right here. So you can move them down. So again, the fact that you can control that from here is just really cool. So you don't have to get out of the vehicle in the hot weather, and you can fold your seats flat. If somebody's going to load something in the back, or if you have your seats down and you want them to go back up, this is a really cool, clever feature. And I will point out, Palisade has always had this, but the third row seats do have the heated seat option in your upper trims. I think that's really cool. Now, another thing I really like is going to be the ease and convenience of moving this seat right here. There is literally a button that you press, and look, it does all the work for you. And in addition to that, you have a nice wide opening to be able to climb into this third row space. So I feel like they have done a really good job at making this easy for people to get in and out of. And then yeah. Now, while I'm sitting in the third row, I do want to point out there's a lot of good stuff back here. These seats are actually really comfortable, and I don't say that a lot in a third row seat, but they have like a really nice amount of padding, and they kind of like scoop so it tips up your leg a little bit, so it gives you good thigh support. And I just, look, the headrest doesn't push my head forward. This seat right here is actually a pretty comfortable space to be in. You have cup holders. You've got, again, a 100-watt USB-C charger back here, and I can recline and adjust my seat a little bit with power adjustments, calligraphy trim, and I can move my seat back a little bit if I need a little more leg room. I can move it forward if we need more cargo room. So I like the fact that this is kind of an adjustable space, and you have a really nice window here so you don't feel pinned in or claustrophobic. I often talk about the third row seat being a penalty box. This is not a penalty box. So I like this. I think they've done a really good job with the comfort and, just the materials, and making this a space that I could sit in for a couple of hours. Keep in mind, I'm about 5 feet tall. I weigh about 95 pounds, the size of your average 10-year-old. I am the person you would want to put back here. Yeah. And it gets a thumbs up. This is not a large, like full-size body-on-frame vehicle. This is, I mean, it's a large vehicle. It's a large 3-row, but it is not the size of an Escalade. This seat is more comfortable than what you will find in a Cadillac Escalade. I'm throwing down on that. However, while we're back here, I will tell you this 3rd row is also going to kick off my do not like list. And why does this kick off my do not like list? This right here. Hyundai is very proud of the fact that you can put 3 people back here. Some of our competitors don't do that. There's a reason why. There is a reason why people only put 2 seats in this 3rd row. Because, okay, so my shoulders hit this seam right here, and then I'm telling you, if you put 3 of me back here, we're gonna be like fighting it out. I will win. But I mean, 3 people sitting back here, it's not, this isn't in case of an emergency jump seat right here. And this is the least comfortable seat. Like these 2 seats really well padded. This seat, not so much. Not so much. So this is literally in case of an emergency, and I don't know that it's necessarily something to be proud of. I don't like it. Now, I wouldn't say this is a do not like, but I'm going to say this is a do not love. These seats aren't actually terribly comfortable, and I don't know how that would change if you had the bench seat option or if you had different materials, but these are just a little bit firm. And even though you have power adjustments, which are really cool, the seats themselves are a little bit, not comfortable. Like I feel a little bit like I'm sitting on cardboard here. So, yeah, I don't love these seats. And I mean, maybe they would break in over time because there's a lot of other good stuff back here, from climate controls to storage spaces to USB chargers here and an actual plug for something. But the seats themselves, so these seats, comfortable. Those seats, comfortable. These seats, not comfortable. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't like that. We are going to move into the front row to talk about some of the final things that I don't like about the 2026 Hyundai Palisade. But before I do that, there's one more thing in this second row that I have to mention. I love this panoramic moonroof that we've got going on, the dual pane situation. But the problem is, the only way you can open and close the shade is through this right here up front. I really wish that the second row passenger here had a way to operate the roof shade from here. Instead, you're gonna be like, Mom, can you open the shade? Mom, can you close the shade? Mom, 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 and that's gonna get annoying. Now, I agree that you should have a lock on that so that they're not open, close, open, close, open, close. But it just seems like it would make sense to have the ability to open and close this from the second row, and you do not. So seats are not comfortable, and you can't operate this from here. All right, let's go up front and finish out my do not like list before we go off-road and give driving impressions. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is going to be about the camera. And while I love the clarity and the angles that you have in terms of what you are seeing and what you have here, the problem that I have with this is that the camera shuts off at speeds of over 5 miles per hour. And we're going to talk about this in the off-road segment, but you really need this if you're getting ready to go up and over a cliff. You want to see what's in front of you, and the camera shuts off at the most inopportune times. So I really wish this would stay on longer, and it's a problem, especially in the XRT Pro. I mean, maybe you don't put it in the calligraphy trim, but in the XRT Pro model, you got to leave that camera on a little bit longer so you can actually see where you're going. Did not like that shut off feature. Now, the final thing I don't like, and this is going to surprise nobody, is this right here. Hyundai made a big deal in its press release about putting a vented fan underneath this wireless charging pad. And I don't know if it's just because this is a pre-production model, but it did not work. It did not work. Every time I put my phone in here with the case, without the case, it overheated my phone. So that's a problem. It remains a problem. Not to mention the fact that where this is could be in full sun depending on the time of day that you're driving or where you are driving. And that is also going to heat up your phone. I almost feel like if you're going to have a wireless charger, it should be down here. And it definitely, the cool pad's got to work, man. I need the cool pad to work. It did not work. Like, it put charging on hold for my phone because my phone kept overheating. Didn't move. My phone didn't move. So this is well designed, but yeah, cool pad did not work here. And I did not like that. All right, so we are getting ready to go on to the off-road course for the Hyundai Palisade XRT Pro. And, you know, this has a little bit of extra cladding. It has some 18-inch wheels with all-terrain tires. You have specially tuned suspension, so it's not a different suspension, but it's just tuned a little bit differently for off-road. You don't really have any skid plates or underbody armor, but you do have a little bit of cladding that kind of comes down around the front end. And you just have some different all-terrain modes, so you can change your drive modes: mud, sand, and like, I forget what the other one is. Snow was the other one. And not that we need snow mode here. But we've already done one lap, and then we're doing the second lap, and we did sand mode and we did mud mode in a couple of situations. And we do have some tight turns, and we have some, you know, off camber bits. We've got some rocks, we've got some sand. So we are going to test this a little bit, but I'll be honest, this is not probably the most difficult trail, but it is quite lovely. It is very pretty. So, yeah. Let's see how this does. All right, and one of the things that I want to do, we're getting ready to go into a narrow area, and this is one of the things that I always do when I'm driving off-road, is I tilt my mirrors towards my rear tires so that I can make sure that I'm not doing anything like going over any rocks or bad stuff with the tail end. So, and this is definitely a little bit narrow, and I may ask my co-pilot at some point to give me some spotting advice. So if you hear another disembodied voice in the background, that is Kristen Shaw, who was my Rebel partner for the past 3 years. She was the one who reminded me of snow mode. And I'm going to mention this in my do not like list, but one of the things that I have to put on the do not like list is the fact that the camera, around view camera, front view camera, does not stay on at speeds above about 5 miles per hour. And that is really tough in an off-road situation, because like, we're going up a hill right now, and I'm like, I can't see what's on the other side of my hood. And it would be really nice if I could have my camera on and actually be able to see what's up there. But you can't. And in an off-road vehicle, having the ability to keep your camera on is really important and helpful. This is definitely a nice little tight bit here. And it's funny, they've put like little orange flags up so that, you know, you can kind of see as you're going over these crests so that you don't put a tire wrong. I'm getting a thumbs up from my partner. Yeah, and I mean, the great thing about this is it's a narrow path, but the tough thing about it is it's a narrow path, and off to the left is water. Did not bring my swimming suit. I do not need to go into the water today, even though it's a very hot day. If you've ever done any off-roading, you have to know that slow and steady wins the race. So this is not something that you are muscling your way through. There are no medals at the end of this. It's better to be precise and not hurt the vehicle. I have to say there's probably only like 2 or 3 inches on either side of the vehicle, so there's not a lot of room for making a mistake here. And actually, you know what? Thank you, Hyundai, for doing that, because you're really kind of showcasing the good visibility that you have out the windows. You're showcasing, you know, how well you can see the wheel placement. And so far in this little off-road bit we've done, the only negative thing that I have to say is I really wish that the camera stayed on because right now, like, could not see the road, cannot see over my nose. Really wish that that you would be able to keep the cameras on at speeds more than 5. Like, I think the speeds should be able to, or the camera should be on at speeds up to at least 20 miles per hour. All right, so we made it up the hill. That was good. I had a little bit of a fearful moment there, but yeah, that was a lot easier than I thought it would. The person who went before us, like, nearly fell off the cliff. So that made me a little bit nervous, but that was easy. This vehicle handled it very well in mud mode. So what's interesting is this XRT model has front and rear recovery hooks. It has a tow hitch. It has the sand, the mud, the snow modes. And I'm totally taking credit for that. I'm totally taking credit for that because the work that Kristen and I did with the Hyundai Santa Cruz in the Rebelle Rally, it essentially inspired the XRT Pro model. So the 1-inch lift, the recovery hooks, the a lot of the cladding and the things that they did on this vehicle is because of what we did in Rebelle. I'm taking credit for it. We are taking credit for it. The Brood Squad is taking credit for it. Yeah. We should get paid for that. But we did it out of the goodness of our heart. We did it for the kindness, for the love of the game, for the love of the sport. We did it just because. We did not get paid. Now that essentially concludes the big portion of the off-roading that we did. So we had some hills, we had some narrow passes. You know, we had that nice steep swooping hill and the moguls and then the rocky bits. And I mean, even though this course isn't really long, it's about 20 minutes. This did really well. This will get you to a trailhead. This will get you to a really good campsite. And as long as you take it slow and steady and watch your wheel placement, this can do some more difficult stuff. And, you know, not to put too much of a pitch for Rebelle in, but I think this could be a really good Rebelle vehicle in the X-Cross class, and it could handle some of the more difficult terrain that you get thrown at you. So this did really well. I have to say I'm pretty impressed with it. Short course, not terribly difficult, but I see potential here to do even more difficult things. So there you go. All right, I've told you the things that I like. I've told you the things that I don't like. We've gone off-road a little bit, so I just want to close this out with some on-road driving impressions. Now, you got to keep in mind, this is a first look driving review, and I've really only been behind the wheel for about an hour. So these are very, very first impressions, but I really like the engine sound coming into the cabin. It sounds beefy and throaty. And even though this is 4 horsepower less, this 3.5 liter engine is 4 horsepower less than the outgoing 3.8 liter engine, this feels like it has a smoother, more seamless power delivery, and it just feels good. So I don't miss that 4 horsepower. I don't miss it. So the other thing that I really like about this, and I mentioned it in my good things, is I have a really good driving position. I have good visibility. I feel comfortable behind the wheel, and the seats themselves are also comfortable. Now, this is a 3-row vehicle, which means it is big, and I do have to say it does drive a little bit big. It doesn't feel as nimble, perhaps, as maybe the previous model did, but we've been driving on twisty bits, and this has been doing a fairly good job. I don't feel out of control, and I don't feel like I'm going to fall off the side of a cliff. So I like how it drives. I like how it handles, and the overall comfort and drivability of this 2026 Palisade is very good. I like the engine. I like the transmission. I like the overall comfort on road. You don't feel every bump and nick in the road. And yeah, I'm just going to stop there because I only have really good things to say. I mean, yeah, I did have a do not like list. There are a couple of things I didn't like, but ride and handling is not one of those things. It does well on road. It does well off road. So gets a thumbs up from me. All right, that is what I have for you today in the 2026 Hyundai Palisade. Thanks for watching, and I will see you down the road.